Welcome back to Conversations at the Ranch. I'm Sam. Really excited to sit down again today with Dudley and talk about a pretty important topic, specifically for Christians and non-Christians, honestly. And we're going to dive into the topic of forgiveness and unforgiveness. How do we forgive? What does it look like to forgive? What are some of the greatest hindrances to forgiveness that we experience in life? Hey, listen, I really hope you enjoy this episode. And if you do, I would recommend subscribing to our channel. Hit the notification bell there in your YouTube interface so that you don't miss any more episodes, and share this thing with another friend. Listen, I hope you'll enjoy the episode. Thanks for watching. Oh, it's good to be back here with you, Dudley.
Yes,
talk
sir.
some more. Gotten some good feedback on some of our recent conversations.
Yeah, people are actually watching.
They're actually listening.
Yeah. And digesting it. Sounds like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
amazing.
It is amazing. A topic that's been a hot button one, even in my own home recently, is forgiveness in the life of the believer. What does that look like? And specifically around the idea, I think we both probably know people close to us who have been wounded deeply by people they love, yet we're called to forgive. So what are the implications of forgiveness when you've been hurt or traumatized or wounded really deeply? Does forgiveness mean complete and total restoration back to relationship with that person? This has been a contentious point between Corinne and I when we talk about it, because I would tend to think, well, if you forgive the way Jesus would define forgiveness, I don't think he then puts restrictions between he and I. Once he's forgiven me, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
But with humans, if you wound me deeply, can I still forgive you but have limits on our relationship? I mean, that may be a good springboard into the conversation, but.
Yeah, well, forgiveness is unforgiveness is the protest that we humans make of wanting to be God.
Okay.
So we are built by God, created by God to recognize justice. We are children of justice. God is a God of justice. So being created in his image, we have justice, a sense of justice about us. And when injustice happens, there's something in us as fallen people who have built their lives around themselves. Mm-hmm. There's this need to, I want to be God. I want to determine what you did wrong. I want to assign the punishment to it, and I want to carry it out. Now, the problem with all of that is you're not God, and therefore, whatever decision you make is based on limited evidence.
Right.
Only God knows what really went on.
Sure.
And what's in this person's heart and what they meant and all that. Only God knows that. Mm-hmm. And that's why only God should get vengeance.
Yep.
But we, being fallen human beings, used to live in alienated from God. We take on the God character of, okay, then I will decide what hurt me, what's wrong, where you were wrong in it, and I will decide how long you have to pay and what you have to pay. And the problem with that is it destroys you because you're not God and you're trying to act like God. And because you're trying to act like God, you're not accepting your role as a human. Mm-hmm. And therefore you lose any kind of sense of peace and, well, just fellowship with God. And you give yourself over to being obsessed with the pain, obsessed with getting hurt. And of course, there's a voice that's coming in there saying, you're a victim. The whole world's against you. God's against you. These people are against you. And this is another evidence that you're a victim in the world. Mm-hmm. So being a victim, you do what Adam and Eve did. You run and hide behind the bush, and you blame somebody else on. That's just the human condition. So unforgiveness, somebody has accurately said, unforgiveness is me drinking poison, hoping somebody else dies, which that's not a bad description of it, because if I don't forgive, I'm the one carrying the burden. Sometimes the person doesn't even know that I'm upset.
Yep.
So I'm not hurting them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it illustrates a lot of arrogance on our part. It's like, okay, I'm going to punish you by not letting you be in my presence. Well, that's kind of putting a high premium on my presence, isn't it? Or I'm going to punish you by not smiling at you or not inviting you to Thanksgiving or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just a distortion. It's such a distortion of how God designed us to operate.
Sure.
With each other and with Him.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the conversation today. There's something special I want to invite you to be a part of. It's called Dudley's Weekly Word. Dudley's Weekly Word is our weekly email series that we drop in your inbox if you subscribe every Friday. This is Dudley's quick take on current events, different theological ideas, an inspirational message or devotional just to encourage you, educate you, and really bring into focus all that we're trying to convey here at Kerygma Ventures that is essentially the good news of the gospel. I think you'd really enjoy it. You can subscribe to this weekly email by just clicking the button right here on the screen. Hey, we can't wait to get these messages to you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conversation.
And so God gives us forgiveness. Now here's the biggest point that I would make. I will forgive in direct proportion to my awareness of being forgiven.
That's good.
So if I am not aware that I've hurt, that I've lived in injustice, if I'm not aware of that and realize that God has forgiven me,
Yep.
I will be the executioner, the judge, everybody.
Yep.
But if I am aware of being forgiven, I can forgive.
Yeah. Is that another way to say that would be like, if I'm not aware of how wretched a soul I really am and what it really cost God to purchase me, then my capacity for forgiveness will be limited to that degree.
Yeah.
Like if I think I'm not really that bad. So-and-so's really bad, but I had never done anything that bad.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And there's a big problem growing in our society because our society is getting further and further away from believing that man at his core is sinful. Yeah. And sin has lost any kind of meaning in our society. So the whole deal is everybody's good. Everybody's basically good.
Yep.
Okay, if everybody's basically good, then there's no way for me to be aware that I need to be forgiven.
Yep. Yeah.
And so if I'm not forgiven, I can't forgive.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible for a human to do the kind of forgiveness that God requires.
Yeah.
You can't do divine forgiveness if you're just a human.
Yeah.
But if you're a human sharing the life of Christ, who has forgiven you, then you can do the supernatural.
Yeah,
you can forgive.
It's really good. I feel like this topic just pulls back the curtain to expose the heart of the gospel, because this whole topic of forgiveness really succinctly diagnoses the human condition.
Yeah.
Because if you start getting a hold of forgiveness and the need to forgive others, and then discover your own need for forgiveness, then you can see more clearly, like, man, I really am pretty bad off. I really did need a blood sacrifice to cover me. I don't think many people really believe that.
You know, it's interesting as you look at yourself going through one of those deals.
Mm-hmm.
The very fact that I think I have a right not to be offended, that's arrogance. Mm-hmm. It's like, I have a right to make it through this whole world and everybody treat me nice. It's like,
Really?
Really? What world are you living in?
Yeah.
And especially if you understand the plan of God, because God intended for you to need grace so he could give it to you.
Yep.
Now, I know this messes a lot of people up. It's like, no, God didn't intend us to sin or to need. Yes, he did.
He created you for need.
He created us to need him.
Yep. Right.
So if God wants to show his mercy, then he's going to see to it that we need mercy.
That's right. Yeah. His mercy is looking for you say it all the time, for a mess.
For a mess.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Mercy is always looking for a mess. So I shouldn't be surprised if I get offended, if I get betrayed. I shouldn't be surprised if society doesn't bend to my every care, and that God doesn't. It's like he wants me to understand mercy.
Yep. Yep.
Well, if I experience mercy, mercy is one of those realities that if you taste it yourself, you've got to give it away.
Yep.
It's like love. You can't be loved without wanting to love.
Yep.
So first of all, we need to get over the fact that we have a right not to be offended.
Yeah.
But then to realize that God has granted us this ability to forgive others. We can't do his forgiveness. He'll handle that.
Yep.
But that we can forgive in a way that sets somebody free and demonstrates what mercy is in a world that doesn't understand mercy. That's part of our witness.
So let's say you've been hurt remarkably, unspeakably. How do you get there where you then are able to free that person? Like you said, you're forgiving them. You're not holding them in bondage any longer to that thing they did to hurt you. What's the forgiveness playbook, man? I mean, how does that work?
Well, what we're just saying here, for me, I go back to say, okay, who am I to assume the role of the judge, the jury, and the executioner? God said, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. He's the only one that knows enough to make the real decision.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm a judge operating on partial knowledge, bad judge. So I have to go back in all honesty and say, where have I hurt someone at this level? Well, you can get all the way back to God because we have rebelled against him. But I don't remember a time when I actually did that. I couldn't think of somebody I'd hurt.
Yep.
Either through negligence or just selfishness or just meanness.
Yeah.
You know, you get hurt and you lash back and you say things that are awful. And so it's like, okay, let's deal with that. And then I realized that God is not, he's not holding a grudge. That through the death of Jesus, he made it possible for me to be forgiven instantly. And so since I'm forgiven instantly, I can just choose to say, all right, I will show mercy here.
Yep.
I will wait and let God do his thing.
Yep.
Now, I would bring up one point here. If you don't believe that one day the God of justice is going to make everything right,
it'll make this really hard.
It's going to make it hard.
Yeah, right.
Because if you hurt me, and I know there's no comeuppance, you know, that somebody's not going to have to pay for this, it's hard. And so we get into that, well, it's no big deal, just let it go. You can't let it go.
That's really critical. I think that's a really good point to bring up.
Yeah.
If you don't believe that one day all sad things will become untrue, you can't go down this road.
No.
Yeah.
No, I can't forgive somebody who abuses children.
Yeah.
I can't do that unless I know God says, hey, what you can't fix, I can fix. And one day I'll make all wrongs right. I don't know how he's going to do that. I mean, I love to sit around and think about it. It's like, how is God going to do that?
Yeah.
You know, just recently we've been talking to people who are involved in stopping the sex trafficking thing, and just realizing the degradation involved in that whole thing is like, how's God going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
How's God going to give that little girl her innocence back?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that the God of justice, when it's all said and done, is going to make every wrong right. And the reason I know that is because when he had a chance to do something else, he put it all on his son.
Man, that, I'm telling you, I feel like that is one of the best, like, backbones, concrete slabs for equipping a believer to know how to forgive.
Yeah.
Is getting a hold of that. I know we sound like a broken record, but that is the keystone of the biblical narrative, that God has got a redemptive plan for all of this.
Yeah.
And his name is Jesus. And one day all sad things will become untrue. And if we can get a hold of that, that's the bedrock for now being able to forgive in real time.
Absolutely.
When we see injustice, or when we experience injustice or offense, I never thought of it that way. It's really good. I hope it's true. Seriously. I mean, I talked about this kind of stuff for a long time, man, and been around it a lot, but there are days it's more difficult to believe than others.
Yeah. I hear you. I hope it's true too. I'm betting on it.
Yeah.
I'm betting on it. And if I get to heaven and I find out that ain't true, well, what's the chances of that? What's the chances of me getting to heaven and find out God is not as good as I thought he was?
I don't know what the chances are, but I guess I'm betting on it too.
Zilch.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have the capacity to think how good God is.
Yeah.
And so so the fact that I can't see how he's going to do it doesn't mean he's not going to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
So
that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we better push our chips in with God.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know that we have a better option.
Yeah, what else you going to do? It's like, oh, well, life happens, or mess happens.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a way to live. Just we're at random. Things just happen, and there's going to be no fixing of it, and you just have to deal with it. And I think if I did that, I'd have trouble with suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, because there's no, as trite as it sounds, there's no hope, man. Like, if there's not a bigger plan in place here, there's no reason for me to forgive anybody, first of all.
Well, exactly.
Then beyond that, there's no ability for me to forgive anybody, because there's no sense of anything broader than just this immediacy, this moment. But man, that is really, really helpful. I'm serious. That's one of the best bedrocks for that conversation I think I've ever heard. So,
Coach, there's something in us, that just wants to rejoice in somebody getting there. They're getting it.
Oh yeah.
Like that. That's why I think we love Westerns. One of the repeated lines in all Westerns is, "Did you kill that guy?" Yeah, he needed killing.
Yeah, right. Right. That feels good.
Yeah, it feels good.
That's right.
It's like, I did the world a favor.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to say, it's easy to slip into saying, well, I'm not punishing this guy because necessarily he hurt me. I just want to protect the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody
so
else
much self-righteousness baked into that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It feels so good.
It feels so good. It's like I'm protecting the rest of the world by getting rid of this sucker.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, but in that, it appeals to our desire to be God. It appeals to our desire to control, to say, I'm this virtuous, righteous guy. Yeah. I mean, we don't know jack diddly when it comes to justice and righteousness.
And it's such a false promise that if you could see that person suffer, that it would satisfy you.
Yeah, because it really wouldn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
You and I both have been in athletics, whatever, and I've had on the basketball court, some guy when the ref wasn't watching, punch you in the belly or kick you in the leg or, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think, okay, I'm going to set him up. And I'm sorry, but I have done. And you catch him not looking and just waylay him.
Mm-hmm.
The instant you do it, you feel terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got no benefit from it. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry. I need to go pick him up.
Yeah.
Because it brought no peace. But
Yeah.
you planned it for a quarter.
And the planning felt good, probably.
Yeah.
Like you were going to make this right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Man, we really are. I feel like you could do a series or some expanded content on just humans needing to see more clearly how screwed up they are.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean it just like preach on sin consciousness the whole time, but putting in clearer perspective, like who you really are and how much you've really been forgiven as a basis for understanding the freedom to forgive you've been afforded